you people back in the Shire, turn your porch lights off because we're coming home with a trophy.
Hey there, welcome to SharkCast, a podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. Tonight, not the greatest club in the world. Tonight, not so mighty. This is SharkCast Pod, brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club, Import Hacking, and Jason Hawes at Cripps & Cripps Real Estate. Short, sharp review coming at you. With the Sharks going down in their first loss of the year, we are 2-1. Comprehensively beaten 32 points to 6 at Yacht Oval Saturday night 7:35 kickoff. Everything that could have gone wrong kind of did. Royce Hunt with a calf injury in the warm-up. Dale Finucane, several head clashes. Injuries, we were down to one or two men at certain points of the game, including our 18th man. Cam McInnes on report for a high tackle. Aside from all of that, just a really poor performance from the majority of the players out there tonight for the Sharks. Not all of them, but the majority of them. Out-enthused, outplayed, out-skilled by the West Tigers at Leichhardt. Some are saying it's an ambush. I reported from down at training during the week, and I had 2 or 3 of the guys on record, and I spoke to a bunch more, and I walked away thinking and actually knowing that they were not taking this team lightly. I've seen all the comments online. I don't think they took them lightly. I just think they couldn't match that enthusiasm for whatever reason, and it all just started going wrong. Really disappointing. Bitter kind of way to lose your first game of the year after 2 really fantastic opening games. They showed so much in those opening 2 games. Then tonight, it kind of just, it's a step back. It's a reality check. It's a what do we have here kind of moment. I don't think it's a line anywhere near through us at any point. I don't think that, based on one game, I don't think it's much more than poor performance they'd love to have back again. Now, there were some really poor performances, and I've read some outlandish things about some of the players with those poor performances, starting with the king of Caringbah, Nicho Hynes. People saying get rid of him, he can't play in big games, yada, yada, yada. All I can judge him on right now as I'm recording this is tonight. And tonight he wasn't very good. And he knows that, we all know that. It was there in black and white. And he was probably under a bit of pressure because the first 2 weeks he had, in inverted commas, those man of the match performances. Tonight he was close to the worst out there, and it's hard to sort of pinpoint why and what went wrong. I think it was just one of those nights. I don't really think much more about that. I was in his presence briefly on Wednesday, and he was fine. He seemed fine. I saw him train, and he looked pretty good. There were no issues, and that was a few days ago. But I think, unfortunately, it was just a really poor performance, and sometimes these things happen. I'm not here to talk him up on tonight's performance, but on a whole, are you really, as a fan, going to put a line through Nicho Hynes after a poor game at Yacht Oval in round 3? I know that some of you tune in for optimism, and you're going to get a little bit of that. I know some of you tune in and think I can't be critical of this team. I can be, and I will be. Tonight was just not good enough, and in the press conference, Cam McInnes, our captain, said so. And he had a few errors tonight as well. He wasn't perfect. Without watching it back for a second time just yet, and you guys and girls know I watch it back a whole bunch of times for a whole bunch of different reasons, and I will do so. But based on watching it live, a few guys who tried their absolute guts out, like the first 2 weeks, the majority of them were in the back line, the 3 quarters. I thought Kennedy, Talakai, Ronaldo tried really hard and were quite effective in what they did from time to time throughout the game. I'm probably not going to do a player-by-player analysis right now, but the majority of the players were way off. I thought Tom Hazelton was really good. Bless tall Tom. And I know that some of it was circumstance. You know, when you're playing with less people on the field, it's not going to end well. But the other thing is when you complete 63% of your sets, you're not going to win the game. And that's completely human error. That's a whole bunch of people making a whole bunch of errors. And I don't think we're going to go through this week in, week out. But it's also a shock to the system. It's a game that we thought we would win. And we documented why during the week, during 4 episodes. It wasn't because the West Tigers are easy beats. It's because we thought we had a better team to take to Leichhardt. And on paper, we do. As one of our writers of the vast amount of mail we get every week wrote to us last week, and I cannot remember who it was, you don't win the games on paper. And ironically, that person was referring to our team not being that great on paper. This week, however, we probably thought we had the better team. And I sort of still think we do. But we were out muscled, we were out enthused, and we couldn't contain the offloads. They were playing a little bit of Benji ball. And it was just not a pretty game to watch. And I sympathise with those of you that went out to the game and would have fought traffic and parking spots and whatever else. But this is what we do for the club. You know, the club you love, you do that and you hope that you get a good time in return. Tonight wasn't a good time. And I do think, despite the short press conference, I do think that the video sessions and training sessions will be long and hard this week. We've got an 8-day turnaround for Canberra, 6:15 p.m. next Sunday. Canberra have had a relatively strong start to the year physically and beating the games they've played. But we're here to talk about West Tigers, man, and it was just, you could see it coming. And when I say that, I mean once you started watching the game. And for West Tigers, you know, good luck to them. They should play every game at Leichhardt because that crowd got them home. That crowd was part of the team, and they rode off it. The Tigers rode off it, and we didn't put up a fight. There's a bunch of mail already come in. Andrew said, I've waited half an hour to calm down before this vent. The positives, Talakai was again huge. Many calling for Euro inclusion, but how can you drop Talakai? The negatives, so many mistakes, so many unforced errors, completely out enthused. I don't want to single out players, and I'm sure most others will mention Nico's game. Hopefully he puts that behind him quickly. Who am I to question Sir Fitz, but here's my thoughts for what they're worth. Using Williams on the edge took away the impact and leg speed from the bench that we got the first 2 games. Next week start Burns if we're going to persist with him and keep Jack for the impact. Dropping Tuku from his debut was harsh, and we couldn't predict that Hunt injury, but geez, Tukes go forward would have been nice. With Fitzy and the many experienced coaches he has as assistants, I'd be shocked and disappointed if none of them have seen something at training this week that didn't tell them the effort was coming. As professional head coaches, surely they see a drop in intensity or too much cockiness, etc. There's no way they as a group went into that game with the same enthusiasm as the first 2 games. Personally, I can only put down that they thought they were better than their opponents. So a sense of ego must be in their mindset. Anyway, on to next week. Going to be tough with all the injuries, but maybe the fresh faces are what's needed to rebuild the enthusiasm. Thanks, Andrew. No, thank you, Andrew, for being in touch. I've harped on it a bit, Andrew, and I'm certainly not a head coach, but I was around the team for about an hour on Wednesday when they were going through a bunch of stuff, and I'm telling you right now, there were no issues then. And I understand that that was 3 days ago. But the widespread idea that they took them lightly, I feel like it's a bit of a cliche. I feel like it's a bit of a misinterpretation. I think there's a difference between taking them lightly and being out enthused. I really do. And I respect your opinion, Andrew. You know that. I'm not saying you're wrong. But my interpretation from what I experienced was they weren't going to take this team lightly. They just didn't get off on the right foot and couldn't get back on track. I could be wrong, of course. Few comments from a post we did on the X, even though I like you guys to send me DMs. Joshua, I find very amusing, wrote, we're playing about as good as this video ref. Brad said, I'm going to sit this one out, Sam, and cool down. Michael said, I'm not turning up if they don't. On to the next. Moz said, played like a team that just expected to win and then wilted when the Tigers pushed back after Hazleton's try. So many dumb and unforced errors, just hand the game over to the Tigers. Friend Joe said, absolutely dreadful performance. All of them look like they didn't want to be there. Fitz needs to go back to the drawing board and rethink a few things. Michael said we need a new number 9. It gets left on the deck too much in tackles and no variety in attack. Got taught a dummy half lesson by Arpy tonight. I definitely agree with the last point. Arpy was unbelievable. Richard said major issue at 9. Michael said major issue with props. So as far as singling out the number 9 and the halfback and different players, I mean, they were all pretty off tonight, guys. Opening 2 weeks, they were all pretty good. So it's hard for me right now just to say get rid of them all, to be perfectly honest. And that's not me being positive, I assure you, or being optimistic, because at the moment I'm pretty, down about that loss. Like most people who watched it, it was disheartening. But to rule them out and put a line through them, I don't know about that. Daniel said completely outplayed. It seemed like we didn't want to be there. Pretty much everyone had shockers. I think that shows how far from a premiership we are. Not the loss or to the Tigers, but the inability to get up mentally against lower teams. And the inability to turn games back to us. Siffer played well. Shame coach won't answer much. We'll just blame injuries and going away from our systems. Clive said, well done, Tigers. My brother David said, Tigers are up for a fight that we had no interest in. When Nico didn't fire, the other 16 had no plan B. Interesting. Kane said, deja vu. Maybe Fitzy's a myth. Brad said, is the 9 very good? I don't think so. We dwell in mediocrity with the odd flash of brilliance. We missed Nicker up badly. James replied and said, need to play 2 hookers, be a shift change in the game plan, moving to a smaller bench. Donnie said, is it me or does Nico lack the ability to lead us in a grind? When we're on the front foot, playing against retreating defenders, he's a magician. However, as soon as we need to arrest the momentum and swing it back in our favour, he's nowhere to be seen. We showed no pride tonight and we were whipped by a club in tatters. I think we're undisciplined and poorly coached. David said, I didn't think they went in with a win as a given. Surely they would have known it was going to be a decent fight. I agree with that. My thoughts, for what it's worth, are our best lineup was disrupted. Siffer carrying obvious injury and our usual right potent edge was not there due to Britt's suspension. On-field injuries didn't help either. What all that means is that if there is any decent disruption to continuity, the cracks are wider than the Grand Canyon. Tigers got us on a bad night. I'm not feeling it for the players. I'm feeling for the loyal fans who turned up to Leichhardt and got served up that performance. They are some wise words, David. Matt replied saying it sure wasn't easy being there. Tim said, lack of energy, very flat this week. Unfortunately, that happens. It's one game, no need for panic. Stations, but still need to bounce back next week. Going to be tough, though, with a few injuries. Dale, Toby, and Hunt possibly missing. Fingers crossed Hamlin Willie is back next week. I don't think he will be. Disappointing. Only positive to take from this is Talakai's performance. He's in great form to start the year. Dave said, perfect example of showing up expecting to win. There was no resolve, no enthusiasm, no direction. The results show the effort we put in. Michael said, at least they can't call us flat track bullies anymore. Didn't realise how many comments were here. Scott said, I thought our bench rotation was the difference in the Warriors and Dogs games. Tonight our bench got completely shot to bits, which is why I reckon we couldn't arrest the momentum and things got ugly. Next week I'd like to see 4 big men on the bench and go with 2 80-minute second rowers. Sam says, truly one of the worst performances of the last 15-20 years, and that's saying something. Brent said, turned up and just expected a W and got pumped. Pretty, I won't use that word, not good. Ra said, Royce Hunt injured warming up on the sideline. That was the sign. It wasn't going to go our way tonight. Nathan said, I went to the game tonight and it was pretty diabolically bad. First thought, how does desire typically fluctuate? Tigers were playing like it was their grand final. diving for loose Steeden, sprinting to make a covering tackle, whereas we looked a mile off the pace. Secondly, why was Nico's radar so off today? He put one of the kicks in the row Z and it wasn't even close. Thirdly, he talked about the referee. Side rant, I paid $60 for a general admission via Ticketek. I can't believe it. If people think Shark Park is bad, pay $60 for a GA and experience the crap that is Leichhardt Oval. Alcohol lines were garbage, food options were garbage, big screen is horrible, sound is non-existent, toilets are something out of a prison, bad, never going back there again, rant over. Oh boy. Brett said we need someone like Michael Ennis to coach a team how to niggle the opposition in the tackle and not get penalised in the ruck. Greg said the team assumed they'd win, got caught up in the occasion of multicultural round like they do with any special round. Best chance to break the record of a 7-0 start in 78 and go and bottle it with that performance. Hurts more because it was against the double spooners. It's a great point, Greg. Like, we had a good chance to go on a run here, so it's been halted a bit. Buck said nothing positive, absolutely nothing. Brian said can't remember a worst performance in the last 10 years. Well, we might need to make a list of those because I can. The great John Docking has been in touch and he said, blame the black jerseys. Our win percentage wearing them must be horrific. Sean said disappointing. Luke said, bro, I can't even. Just embarrassed. Never thought I'd be calling for Nico to be hooked. Ben said all of the above. Think we went in thinking we had it already in the bag. That was utter garbage. That's a lot of replies, guys. I didn't realise how many replies you'd had in between me writing a post and you answering it. So thank you so much. Blake was in touch right at full time and said, I thought I'd get in here first. I know what you're going to say in response, Sam, but the facts bear it out. Hines is overrated. When is the last time he took over a match or even won against decent opposition? He's not the reason we lost, but when we needed a big performance from anyone, he went missing. Trindle looked more like the go-to man than Nico after the first 20 minutes. Oh, Blake, what am I going to say? You know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to say. Look, he was really off tonight. It was obvious from early on, and it didn't get better. And he is our go-to man. He's going to be at some point our most highly paid Shark. He's leadership. He's king of the attack. King of carrying bar is the king of attack. And it wasn't happening tonight. But we need to give him another chance. As to who is he beaten, let's look at that through the week. But I know that he's a champion player. I know that. And maybe he's a work in progress, you know? Or maybe he's not a champion player, but he's going to be a champion player. There's something about him that I think is a really great fit for our club. And I'm not prepared to even consider going down the path that some people are saying tonight. But Blake, we thank you for being in touch. Danny says it was a case of turn up and win. The mindset for this game is absolutely pathetic. I can handle a loss, but when the game is that bad, it reminds me of 2014. Holy smokes. Nothing about tonight reminds me of 2014 with respect, Daniel, but I appreciate what you're saying. I know everyone would like to put this in some players for their performance, but to quote Basketball, the great movie Basketball, it was a team effort, and I guess it took every player working together to lose this one. I can't blame the ref. No positives in our attack or defence, not a single moment. Hope the boys watch this game back and use it as a turning point, or it's going to be a long season. A few injuries, our depth will be challenged next week. Luckily, we have the bye coming up. On a positive note to end, we have AFB coming in 2025. That's from Danny. Thanks so much, Danny. Appreciate you. Brett says, tonight we'll test all the commentators, calling you an optimist. Tigers played well above their level, suffered injuries, dicey ref calls, the wrong bounce of the ball. But we were also atrocious, lacked discipline, and committed a number of unforgivable cardinal sins. We gave ourselves no chance. I completely agree with that, Brett. It was a quintessential Sharks performance, complacent and lost our head when we fell behind. This team is not a premiership threat, not even close. Oh boy, my heart hurts hearing that, Brett. If the Warriors' win was the foundation of a good season, then this has crumbled it. Well, for the moment, it's only round 3. Come on. Let's not fall off the horse, everyone. John said, bad night. We missed the punch of Hazleton and Williams together off the bench. Comedy of mishaps. did not help. Onwards and upwards. Cheers. That's from John. Thanks, John. Appreciate you. Steve has just made the cut, and he said, what a hard game that was to watch. Can we play any worse? Our attack is exposed. We need a change. We need a speed. We need speed. It's time to Fitzy to take off the rose-coloured glasses for Katoa and bring in Stone Street. And move Talakai up front and bring in Iro. Dykes must be close also. Some mass changes you're calling for, Steve. I really don't think that the wingers are the problem. You're saying that they're too slow, which I'm listening to you. You're calling for Dykes to come in. He probably needs a few more runs under his belt. You're asking for Talakai to go to the forwards, Iro to come in. I coached 12 years in the country, winning 9 grand finals and runner-up in 2, and as an ex-coach I can see the flaws. Most people can't see we need speed out wide. We're also missing Ueli, you say, and Tuku should come in as well. Young Sam Healy needs a go. I mean, yes, but not right now. We agree that Nikora is a big out. We need to be a much more committed side this week and beat the Raiders, otherwise we'll go into the bye shaky, needing to win the next 4 games to stay alive in the hunt. Right now we're not confident of beating the Raiders, but hope we can turn this around. Up. That's from Steve. Thanks so much, Steve. We appreciate that detailed piece of correspondence. Reese said, I thought I'd send you this message in anticipation of what's to come in your fan mail segment. Love your show, love the Sharks, and looking forward to next week. That's from Reese. Thank you, Reese. That's awesome. Don't worry about me and my inbox. This is what we ask for when we win and ask for when we lose. So, completely appreciate everyone being in touch already so soon. I'm sure much more mail will come in during the week. If you would like to send more mail in, sharkcastpod@gmail.com is the best way to do it. You can DM us on the socials and we'll find that as well. So, we might leave it at that. I need to watch the game back before I give a lot more analysis on tonight. But just an unhappy game. One that we're all disappointed in. Not quite sure where it went wrong aside from being out-enthused and out-muscled. I harp on it a lot, but I just think sometimes these games come up and you need to be better. And they weren't tonight. But I don't believe in my heart of hearts they thought they were just going to turn up and win, because it's just not what happens. I'm blessed enough to see a little bit of inside their world, and they don't just sit around talking about how good they are. They work hard, they train hard, they have skilled coaches guiding them, and what they dished up tonight was nowhere near good enough on any given day. Cam McInnes said so at the press conference, bless him. And we've got a lot more to discuss during the week. So stick with us. Cannot thank you enough for your support this year and throughout the years, through 10 years. So there's some OGs on here. There's some newbies here. We appreciate all of you. And a quick shout out to my co-hosts who make this so much fun and ease the load slightly for me with their amazing contributions. And I cannot thank them enough for their help as well. Slightly longer review than I thought it would be, but thank you for your mail and for making that, so I really appreciate it. Don't be strangers, be in touch. Up Cronulla, let's go.
SharkCast! SharkCast!